Welcome back to the Stuff or Whatever podcast. Your host, B. Quanchi here. Always like to start by saying the best way to support me in the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe, watch, listen, all that good stuff. You can do it here on YouTube, follow on Twitter to catch fun tweets and updates as well. And also, I stream gaming on Twitch, so you can catch that, have fun with the chat, follow. And those stream VODs get uploaded right here on YouTube, so pretty easy to find all that. B. Quanchi all around, and there's links in the descriptions of videos about on the channel, so it all pretty much ties together. I'm kind of like, I don't want to say like OCD about it, but I get pretty like meticulous with the details, so you get it easy to find if you enjoy what you hear, and also open to feedback too. That's one thing I always repeatedly talk about this, but there's always like some small growth, but it's like you can't really tell what's really working. I know some things because I also upload some gameplay videos just because I think it's kind of fun and almost like ASMR, or just like fun just watching gameplay videos of just the gameplay without the Let's Play commentary. Although that's what I majority watch is Let's Plays when it comes to gaming. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's pretty much just me throwing spaghetti at the walls, and yeah, there's a lot of marinara sauce staining the walls, but maybe I shouldn't have, sauce the pasta before I throw it, but hey, you can't have dry spaghetti. But anyways, but I did want to mention with streaming too, I'm going to mix things up a little bit. Again, the same thing like throwing spaghetti at the walls, but I like to play a lot of like retro, a lot of indie, especially indie games that I kind of like that pixel retro feel anyway, so it's kind of like new but old and fresh. But I'm thinking about playing some more mainstream stuff too, just to see. I'm mostly just curious how it will perform and all that. So there may be a Fortnite stream. I definitely been getting to Fall Guys too, because that just dropped to free to play. So I probably will play around with that. Sometimes I worry about like streaming, having like games that are heavy online multiplayer, but we'll see how that plays out. But this is things I'm thinking about. So hope everyone's having a good day. But my day, it's my day off, and the only thing I've been putting off getting my car checked out and stuff like that, like the routine maintenance and all that. And some stuff that need to be done for a while, so I dropped off my car this morning. Don't know how long it's going to be to get my car back, because it's honestly been, oh my god, I think like maybe 7 hours now. I forget. I feel like that's the annoying thing about having the car and having like maintenance. It feels like a whole day thing. Like you can get dropped off at home and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been over 7 hours, and it's a pain in the wallet too. So I almost want to do like a stream just to like fundraise and like start a GoFundMe for paying my car maintenance. Yeah, it sucks, but oh well. Hopefully, it won't be a good while before I have any more needs besides just paying gas, and that's a thing of its own self. But I just drive a Toyota. I don't get too much into cars and stuff like that. But it's been pretty reliable. So besides that, we'll see. And like, might as well just get this taken care of. But yeah, annoying stuff. So next thing I want to talk about is mobile gaming. And I feel like I used to do a lot more of that with some apps, but then some apps I just end up deleting. And I'm putting out a video next week because one of my most favorite games, called Final Fantasy Record Keeper, the global version, is going to be ending service. I'm like, kind of pretty disappointed about that, because it's very classic Final Fantasy. Like, look out for the video, because I talk more details about it. And I did play some of the other Final Fantasy mobile games. I haven't played all the Bravest, but I heard that one's really bad. I did kind of like Brave Exvius, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, but it felt, I don't know, it's like one of those things, like, it's not like forces you to do microtransactions, but it eventually kind of feels like how they update like newer and harder dungeons and like higher tier events and stuff like that, and you can't like really beat them. And they have like, oh, here's this new rare units that if you keep like drawing them, you can upgrade them even more. It's a little tedious too. It kind of almost feels like that pay to win kind of aspect to it. And you also kind of feel dumb. Oh, at least I feel dumb. Like you like max level stuff, and it's like these dungeons are like borderline impossible, and you just feel like, am I doing something wrong? But I guess it can get really complex too. Like look at strategies and stuff like that. but I feel like it has one of the more grosser like gotcha mechanics and things like that, especially when like units become outdated, especially if you like playing the game since it came out. And yeah, so I got just kind of bored with it too. I thought it has a nice story. Like I think if they made a standalone game based off the original characters and story, it made like more like a game versus a like a free to play but you can pay mobile game. There was also one called Final Fantasy Dissidia. I forget. Let me look that up. It's like a because I know they have like the kind of fighting games with the Dissidia series, but there's a Final Fantasy mobile game. Okay, I think the official title is Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, and that was kind of fun too. But it also like with the gotcha mechanic, if you didn't draw the newest thing that they released, you kind of felt you were behind, and like made things like harder if you didn't have the newest stuff, and it's all random, so you're not even guaranteed if you put in your in-game resources and money into it. I think what was the one that got canceled that was kind of interesting, but I think they kind of gave it up pretty early. I think it's like Mobius. Yeah, Mobius Final Fantasy. That was kind of surprising. Shut down. That one, I think they also released it on. What I say, I think, but I know that they released it on Steam. And that's kind of fun that they had like a PC counterpart as well. And I wonder if we can see that more often because that'd be kind of cool to see more. Like cross platform. It's kind of weird to see like mobile and PC as cross platform. I know it's like some games do that. And I also wanted to point out that I'm talking about mobile games. I'm not like sponsored or anything, so if I would, I make that definitely apparent and all that. Especially like it, you think like, oh, I stopped playing this game. I uninstalled it. Like, it's gross with his microtransactions and all that. But I know like Raid Shadow Legends is kind of a questionable one, and Hearthstone, I am thinking about playing those for the first time on stream because they have PC versions you can play. But I don't know. Of course, there's always like the Pokemon Go, and that's always kind of fun. But I also feel like that's always in small bursts, and it's like gets kind of old fast, or I don't know. I've been playing the Pokemon Masters game as well as like Pokemon Master EX, and that one's fun. But that one, it's funny because it's also made. It's probably a completely different team, but also DNA, who made Final Fantasy Record Keeper, so they also make one of my favorite mobile games. And Pokemon Master, I like it, but there's a lot of complaints with it too. Like my biggest complaint is I feel like with the draws, like and like I say draws a lot, but it's like the gotcha mechanic. Is that sometimes you feel just very unlucky. I talk about that in the Record Keeper video that's coming out too. But I'll be pissed like if I actually paid money and it's like maybe like $30 like the real money equivalent. But of course the game gives you like login bonuses and stuff like that too, so you can still do that stuff without paying a penny. And I don't think I will pay you a penny for Pokemon Masters. But there's sometimes like I'll be really pissed if I paid money for that. But sometimes I get really lucky. I think one of my happy moments is I got the Giovanni that wears a fedora and has Nidoking. That's my little favorite one. And the game also gives you like events where like I think they updated it so you can actually like recruit like, what they call sync pairs, or basically like your Pokemon teams like that, and so you don't have to worry about like getting the crappy teams or crappy Pokemon and all that. But I can kind of complain of that. But I also been noticing as well that Pokemon Master game like crashes a lot. Like it keeps on force closing, and sometimes like clearing the little cache data helps with it too. But I've been noticing a lot lately. It could be my device as well, but this is something I'm kind of curious about. And one thing that's kind of weird is completely derailing and changing subject. But I noticed a few times on Twitter, I'm getting these weird like group messages, but then like people check out right away. They've been like oddly like sexual, but just like a little short message like where you would do it or something like that, or I don't know. I usually delete them pretty quick because I don't really have. I don't want to like embarrass myself, but I'll pull up the number. Right now I have 157 followers on Twitter, and yeah, actually I've been getting a few more extra followers. I've been kind of tweeting more, and I don't know. It's just like it doesn't really matter too much, but sometimes you just want to people notice you, be more visible, especially if you want to put stuff out there. Although I'm not really that talented to put much out in the first place, but I've been getting these weird group message requests and stuff like that, but I usually just get rid of them. But I'm not sure if anyone else has that issue or whatever. So I did want to talk about a little update. I mentioned this a few weeks ago about disputing a copyright claim, and I won. More specifically, it just dropped off and stuff like that. To recap, I did play some old NES games on stream, and it's kind of weird because part of the DuckTales, I played the classic DuckTales on NES, part of the Moon Stage music got claimed. And it's not like the whole one, but it was also kind of weird, like the author or like the ID owner didn't really make sense. And he even spelled like DuckTales wrong. Like, they technically spelled it right, but because DuckTales is a play on word, it was incorrect. I kind of Googled that around and like, well, I'll just dispute it. And pretty much I just had to wait 30 days and then, it dropped off. And I was kind of curious, like, how disputes work. Like, if it's really worth disputing stuff. I would say, honestly, if it's... Again, don't take my word for it, because I'm definitely far from being an expert on it. But if it doesn't really make sense, I don't think it hurts too much just to dispute it. And I did, like, things like, it's fair use. I said gameplay, and I mentioned, like, oh, there's my commentary over it. There was also in-game sound effects. Like, I don't want to... Because, honestly, it just feels like some bullshit account that doesn't own the content, but they claim to do, and people can get screwed over. And I want to talk about that a little bit more as well. So I did that, and then it just dropped off. Like, oh, that's cool. So I might do that with like other stuff that would claim before. And I know that sounds kind of scary. Like, I'm not sure with like bigger channels or like bigger offenses and stuff like that, because it's just like video game music versus like, I'd say definitely avoid like real music or TV shows or movie. Like, I noticed some things like with like commentary or like reviews, a lot of times with like movies or shows, they make like reverse the scene so it's like mirrored, or they like, put like a border around it, put like the little icons or like whatever. You kind of notice that as well. I'm not sure if that helps with the content ID like matching or whatever. And it's like one of the things like you can dispute and say, oh, it's fair use, it's commentary and all that. I think some may drop it, or some may say, oh no, we don't agree. And it's like YouTube, like, tough shit. And a lot of times I've seen, at least in my experience, either it'd be like, oh, it's shared monetization, or they claim complete monetization, or you can't monetize this video. Those are like the three I see. I think they can even claim like, okay, you have to take down this video, or stuff like that. And I don't know what shared really means, because this like time is like it's at like maybe a minute or two, or even a small fraction. They're like, oh, we claimed it, and now we want all the monetization. So I've been kind of disputing more and see. And again, I'm a very small channel, so it doesn't really do that much. I'm not like losing out, because that's not where my views are really going. This is stuff that gets copyright claim. I wonder like if it's more just being a YouTube partner in the first place. Like if a user can't monetize if it doesn't get that finicky or whatever. Because I heard stuff before, like people like abusing the system. Like there was one big one about anime music, and I'm not sure who was the channel, but then like even if someone had like snippets of anime music, like it would get claimed by someone who doesn't even own the copyright, and that sucks. Like YouTube doesn't really have a way to like question or challenge, like, hey, I don't believe this claimant is the actual owner of the content. And they have like some things. I think it just kind of depends on the content, how much you use, but they give you like tools as well. Like you do, like you can mute this part, you can clip it out or whatever. So it's kind of easy, or like sometimes it might just be better to like edit the original upload. But yeah, and there's like some crazy stuff too. Like there was that, I think, Philip DeFranco mentioned it on a recent episode with like Bungie, and like I think it was music from Destiny. I'm not sure if it included Halo, but like some kid like claimed a bunch of content or say like it's his, and there's like even Bungie had a hard time getting in touch with YouTube. Like it took about a month to get things in order, and I think they're suing the kid for like $6.7 million or something, which will probably like settle for less than that. But it's like crazy that even big companies get screwed over or have at least all this trouble like communicating with YouTube. And there was a crazy story as well. If you look into it, it was like Toei Animation and a channel called Totally Not Mark, like 150 claims, like video takedowns. I'm not sure if he got strikes too. I'm not sure what really incorporates a strike. I think if you like really push it, like if this dispute doesn't come in your favor and you like push it further, maybe you'll be vulnerable to a strike. Or if you do something stupid like uploading content, like pirating content, uploading a full movie, a full music track, and stuff like that. So don't do anything stupid like that. Unless you like own the music, which you probably don't if you're just trying to upload it on YouTube versus a big record label or whatever. And it's also like Nintendo Music too, because I feel like Nintendo's been pretty notorious lately about taking down people who like upload the music track from I think the main Nintendo games, but I haven't really looked into it further, and I'm not really sure what the consequences are. But I've been pretty good with it, just because I'm probably like a small little tiny, like a little tiny goldfish in a giant lake of YouTube, ocean, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to do that little metaphor for. But yeah, I just feel like it's been not too bad on my side. I've been kind of like testing out like disputing stuff, even though it's probably not going to even affect me in case my channel does blow up and all these old videos that got copyright, get more views and stuff like that. I do want to mention one video that I'm not going to dispute. It's a older game called Geometry Dash, and a lot of games like heavy on the music, like the soundtrack really enhances the gameplay. Like I feel like gameplay is based off that. But at least when I see the dispute claim, it's like, okay, that's a tape track, that's the person, because it's kind of, in the game credits or like apparent in the game as well. It's like, okay, that makes sense. So I'm not going to even bother with that. Like, I'll keep the video up because it's like fun to have on the channel. Again, even if it's not getting much attention. So I feel like this time, like, and it has like a weird like long name, like 5 different like names or something. Like, and do your research. Like, don't like quickly dispute everything and all that, but just kind of like be, if it's like a game, like fair use gameplay, like simple stuff, like. But if it's like, this is Nintendo or whatever, like I would use caution. But been kind of like interesting, to say at least. I'm not sure if it's interesting to anyone else. Okay, and the next thing I want to talk about, I didn't want to get on this too much because I'm not too much like a political YouTuber or get on that issue, but I'm going to throw my 2 cents when it comes to the Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court. I feel like a lot of people, said it better. It's just like crazy, like, I don't know, so, like my couple 2 cents, because I feel like that's kind of bullshit. Like, definitely a pro-choice person. And so the crazy thing to me is like it's always like old white guys who are really like quote unquote pro-life and all that. It's just bizarre. You see, and you kind of like see it. Kind of feels like there's one side, like the Republicans are more for it, because I've been hearing stuff in the news about like governors and like the really red heavy states like passing abortion laws or anti-abortion banning, whatever. I'm not sure how things are going to fly. It is kind of scary. It makes me really glad I'm not a woman. It makes me really glad I will never even be close to having a kid or dealing with a pregnancy. I'm never going to deal with that with my life personally, unless it's like a family member or nephew, niece, or whatever. But it gets really crazy out there, especially when the circumstances like rape or incest and even like stuff like that. I'm sure there's been cases where women been maybe not in a great relationship, not technically abusive, but maybe times that they felt that their partner wanted unprotected sex and kind of gave in versus like declining. And, this birth control, I don't know really much about, so I'm not really an expert to talk about it, but this just seems really crazy that a bunch of old white guys are doing this, especially when you hear like a huge outcry against it too. So we'll see how that turns out. Because like I said, at least from my perspective, I don't get really heavy into politics, but it feels like it's more of the Republican side. It's not that they're like pro-life, it's just that it comes across as anti-pro-choice or anti-choice, whatever I want to call it. Because you hear things too like, Republicans, have kids, have babies and stuff like that. I've even seen criticism like that or headlines. But then like, you have to be on welfare, like get a job, like not supporting welfare, not supporting safety of these kids getting shot in schools, programs like, hey, like if there's a disability with the child, like maybe they have a physical mental disability at birth, are they gonna help cover that? Especially with the cost of pregnancy too, like almost like scares me just to think about it, like how much goes into having a baby, not just like conception, but all the medical attention during the 9-month term, with typically 9-month terms, and the actual pregnancy and all that. It's crazy. Like I definitely don't want to have a kid. Again, I'm glad that's never going to come across my personal life and all that. And we'll just see what happens, because I'm also kind of, again, I feel like if anyone's listening, that like my views, I kind of lean towards more of the Democrat side, but it kind of feels like there's not much action and all that. So you hear like these words and like, we'll do something good stuff. But I just want to kind of wonder what's going to happen when it comes to election times, especially to the 2024 election. Because either things are going to get really scary, or I almost feel like the Republican Party is just going to implode on themselves, because, you know, younger people are going to realize like, hey, that's not good. Like that's not acceptable in terms of what they try to pass, what they try to, like when it comes like, oh, don't do gun reform and this and that. And yeah, it just feels like a lot of things that, at least from my small little perspective, is that a lot of stuff, it seems like outdated. It's like, I don't know, like old, outdated, out of touch people when I think of the Republican Party. And we'll just see what happens. But yeah, it's just really crazy. I feel like I'm not really giving too much into that in terms of my 2 cents, but we'll see if this will be like the downfall. But that's one thing I said before that I hate about politics in the U.S. It's always polarizing, like it's you against me when it comes to the 2 main parties. It's one of the last point I wanted to make, because there was some criticism about the justices who voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. Because I guess, I'm not 100% sure, but at the hearings, when they get appointed as a Supreme Court justice, that they said that Roe v. Wade is settled law, and then they're overturning it. So people say, oh, the line on the oath, and that's criminal. And I can definitely see that point, but it's also kind of a hard argument to make, because they could say they believed that at that time, but reviewing the information, the subject matter more, maybe they had a change of heart or a change of mind. I don't know. It's kind of bullshit. I don't know. I really am not liking the Supreme Court. And it's like weird being really angry about it, because it doesn't really impact me. Like I said, I'm not going to have anything close to getting a pregnancy with a partner or anything like that. But it's also kind of scary. Like I think one of the Supreme Court justices, I forget his name, but fuck that guy, is like talking about like contraceptives and same-sex marriage and relationship. And that kind of affects me more. So, and not to say like, oh, I don't care about the first thing, because it does affect me. I do care about a lot. I think definitely when you have to write a choice, especially when the circumstances of, hey, it's in the best interest to not have this child at this time. And it could be like the best interest of the potential child. Because if it's like, again, I don't want to get into that huge argument like when life starts and stuff like that, but especially when this worries about like incest and increased amount of, birth defects and stuff like that. And even an interesting fact too, well, I don't think, it's kind of hard to say the fact, or like a data, is that a lot of crime against pregnant women is murder. And then you can have these issues of these pregnant women not able to have an abortion, and then the partner doesn't want to have the child, or not paying child support or whatever. Yeah, it feels like it can get really ugly, very scary, very fast, and yeah, not cool. So next part of this podcast, I wanted to talk about shopping cart theory. And this is just me just being stupid with a microphone, because this is something I just want to get out of my head as well. I think this like started on like 4chan or trends on Reddit, stuff like that. But it's saying that the shopping cart theory is if it's like a litmus test to telling how good a person is if they're willing to return an empty shopping cart and stuff like that. Let me just read the little, I think this is the main image that goes around when it comes to shopping cart theory. So it says the shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task, and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. Simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of where the person will do what is right without being forced to do it. No one will punish you for not returning the shopping cart. No one will fine you or kill you for not returning the shopping cart. You gain nothing by returning the shopping cart. You must return the shopping cart out of the goodness of your own heart. You must return the shopping cart because it's the right thing to do, because it is correct. A person who is unable to do this is no better than an animal, an absolute savage, who can only be made to do what is right by threatening them with a law and the force that stands behind it. The shopping cart is what determines whether a person is good or bad member of society. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of overkill when it comes to that. Like, my simple answer is like, yeah, return your shopping cart. It's definitely like an asshole thing to do, to leave it out. And yeah, it's like maybe just like me wanting things to be in order and correct and stuff like that. So return the shopping cart where it needs to be. I get sometimes like the little thing that Image goes around says like it's a convenient task, but it could also be inconvenient. Like there's annoying parking lots with like there maybe like one or two cart corrals where you can put it in, but parking's so bad that you have to park for the back. So sometimes it can be a little bit more of an annoyance. I think one thing that I saw online before is like a guy talking about like I think it was just an image with the caption and stuff like that, talking about like people who leave the shopping carts around and like in the walkway, but the guy is in a wheelchair with his daughter, and all these shopping carts are in his way. And like that really sucks. Like it may be like inconvenient, but leaving it out, especially in the walkway, that can really inconvenience someone else. But I wouldn't call somebody like a savage or anything like that. It's not like, oh, they're degenerate and stuff like that. Because yeah, for the most part, it's not too inconvenient, but it can be, like I said. And it's like, you know, just being an inconsiderate dick, but or just lazy. I think that's also a big part of it, just being lazy to put the shopping cart back. So I would say that's like, it's, again, seeing the word savage, like, oh my god, they're degenerate. They don't return their shopping cart. It's like, if we went into a Mad Max world, they'll be the bad guys because they can't return your shopping cart. Like, it's not like Fallout where if you don't return your shopping cart, you get a little thing that says your karma went down or whatever. So I don't know, I feel like at least this example is overrated or exaggerated a lot. I guess you like the idea of like paying attention to small details and how you can judge a person's character, is it good or bad. So I think, you know, it definitely factors in and seeing like, okay, is this person decent or an asshole? I think another good way, like another good test, is how they treat people of service, whether it be like a fast food worker at the counter, a cashier, a wait staff at a restaurant. Like, see how people treat them, like when you're on a date, or just kind of notice that as well. Because I think that says a lot about a person too. So not just like how they deal with the shopping cart, but how they deal with people in general, but especially people who kind of more of a service level in terms of their employment, their work, and stuff like that too. But basically, I just want to get out of my head that I think the shopping cart theory, at least in this context, like that, I feel like it's overblown in a sense. Like I wouldn't call somebody savage for not returning a shopping cart, but it's kind of funny to think about and argue and all that. I'm not sure how people argue like who don't return the shopping carts, like they make a big stink about it, but it's just like a fun, stupid idea that I thought about before. I just got to get out of my head into this microphone. So for the last part of this podcast, I wanted to bring back the Whatever Report. I've been doing this kind of consistent lately, so just kind of looking up weird or fun news that I come across. So just start in. This one is very interesting because it's food related, and I feel like that's part of it too. Like the food related ones are the ones I'm more happy to talk about. But better yet, this is about Taco Bell. So Taco Bell is testing out a new menu item, a tostada that is a giant Cheez-It. Basically, it's like a 16 times big Cheez-It, and I'm going to use it as a tostada as well as like the tostada in the Crunch Wrap Supreme. So it looks, I don't know, not gonna lie, it looks good. It kind of looks weird to see like a giant Cheez-It cracker with all like the ground beef and lettuce and cheese and stuff like that on top of that. The thing is, it seems to be only 10 tested in Irvine, California for 2 weeks. So we'll see if this becomes a big thing. I'm definitely curious, but it kind of makes sense to just have 2 items. So they're going to do the Big Cheez-It Tostada and the Big Cheez-It Crunchwrap Supreme. And yeah, again, not gonna lie, it looks good. I would love to have a Crunchwrap with a giant Cheez-It in it. So it definitely looks interesting, to say the least. So we'll see. I have my fingers crossed that maybe someday I'll eat it. I don't know if I do a stupid little video, because I'm not like a food critic or reviewer or anything of that, but I might have to talk about this if I actually get my hands on one. So next story, this is kind of a crazy one. And basically a Subway, as in the sandwich shop, worker was killed by a man because he put too much mayo on the sandwich. And this happened in Atlanta, Georgia. And look at the story. The shooter fired a handgun at 2 of the workers. I think at the time of the story, one was unfortunately killed. And the other one was taken to like ER for critical condition. It is like crazy. It's a 36 man. Crazy. I'm not sure exactly how, but there was like he seemed like frustrated and argued and stuff like that. This is kind of crazy. I know what goes in a person's mind. It makes you think, like, okay, like this inconvenience of having too much of a condiment. And with Subway too, you choose the condiments you want, so not just putting mayonnaise on a sandwich just because. So obviously you would want mayonnaise. So I don't know, but like it's like he didn't ask for mayo, but my God, it's like fucking stupid. And yeah, because like, what goes on in a person's head? Like, oh, this inconvenience having too much of a condiment that I wanted in the first place. I'm gonna fuck people's life over, including my own. Oh, and it said like one of the injured women had a 5-year-old in the restaurant at the time. So that, God, that's just like so sad too. But yeah, how fucked up is that? That's like, yeah, because I can get being pissed off at a food order and all that, but geez, this is way too far. And that's all I'm gonna say about this more. Okay, and for this next story, this is kind of more of an this guy's stupid story, and it's a Florida man story because it involves Disney World. But basically, a guy was posing as a cast member, like a Disney World worker, attempting to steal a R2D2 droid worth $10,000. And yeah, that's kind of stupid. But I think one excuse is that he was doing this in hopes that Disney security would hire him. So I'm not sure if it's like trying to prove a flaw or something, but security definitely got on him and stuff like that. So I don't know, if you want to work for a company, try not stealing from them. Like, especially like, oh, I want to work for this company for the security. Let me steal from them. More so like to prove a point, because it sounded like, at least what he said, I don't know, it could be like he wanted to keep it for himself and then he changed his story just so it doesn't sound as bad. But yeah, that's kind of stupid. And it's like, oh, I'm stealing this, but oh, I'm just wanted to get hired and all that. So kind of a stupid Florida story, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, this last one is just going to be a simple one. In Pittsburgh, they have a pickle fest or something that they call Pickleburg, and they have a pickle juice drinking contest. That just sounds gross. Like, I really hate pickles, and oh my God, that didn't sound gross thinking about it. So I'm not sure like how much pickle juice you have to drink to win. And the funny thing, like the cash prize for winning is $500. Plus you get crowned the mayor of Picklesburg, or like this is like a little title for the festival, whatever it is. But yeah, it's crazy. But I did find one thing interesting before the story is that they actually sell pickle juice like meant to be drunk and stuff like that. And then like advertising and packaging, like it helps with athletes and avoid cramps or muscle cramps and stuff like that. So I guess pickle juice is good for that. Maybe it's like the electrolytes in a brine, or I don't know. But people actually sell pickle juice by itself meant to be drunk. And they have a pickle drinking competition, which sounds gross to me, but if people enjoy it, And I see like people like in the picture of the article, like two hand holding a jar of pickle juice, and the, no, you can't even pay me $500 to even do that. Maybe, No, I really don't like pickles, so maybe not. You probably need more money. My price might be higher to drink a bunch of pickle juice. So that will do it for the podcast for this week. So hopefully this was entertaining. This is me kind of ranting by myself and all that. Again, the best way to support me and the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. I have some stuff coming down the pipeline, and that might mix it up on the streaming Twitch channel, so definitely check that out. Check out the VODs as well. Again, feedback would be appreciated because it's just kind of weird just like yelling to the void and not hearing much back. But anyways, hope you all have a good day, and until next time, bye.